Tom, you go to NBC in Hollywood. Take Clemenza with you. I want Grizzly Adams to wake up with a bear's head on his pillow. I'll take care of it.
Okay. How about hitting Saturday Night Live?
No. My grandchildren love the show. It makes them laugh. There's not enough good satire on TV these days. Besides, I love it when they say, live from New York, it's Saturday night.
Hello and welcome to the Not Ready for Primetime podcast. We're Gary Seath and Chevy Chase.
What?
This week we're talking about Season 3, Episode 5 with host Ray Charles. This episode originally aired on November 12th, 1977. Brad?
It was good. You got me on that. That's good. Very good. I wasn't ready for that one.
A musical guest takes over the show, and I'm not terribly disappointed, I will say.
Thank you, not Paul Simon. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. Ray Charles, man. Woo, interesting choice.
Right?
I mean, he had an album coming out. I'll give him that. But other than that, I don't know. Interesting.
I mean, he's Ray Charles.
He is Ray Charles.
He's already Ray Charles, right? So it's not a stretch, I don't think.
I mean, I would say he was Ray Charles. I mean, Ray Charles, 1977, not a big deal.
No?
He had been I think he's on the way down. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
but he's still Ray Charles.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's not like some of the other acts we've seen from the 60s that didn't hold up and just were musical guests.
No, but it's not like this album that came out was amazing. It was like a covers album. And he had been off Atlantic for a while and re-signed with Atlantic Records. This was his first album back on Atlantic, but it was like a covers album. Like it's not like there's no like greatest hits or like huge Ray. I legit don't know when the last big Ray Charles number was at this point. It wasn't that recent.
No. Well, we did get kind of a greatest hits tonight throughout the show.
Yes and no. Yeah, it was interesting. It was very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Just kept plugging at those. I will say I was much happier with him taking over the show than I was Paul Simon, because it also felt like the cast was a little more included in his playing throughout the show. Like they integrated the cast into his numbers.
Yeah, even Paul Simon number 2. It definitely had for whatever reason even he was in sketches. This did feel, I agree with what you're saying, more of like an episode of a not a takeover episode like that Paul Simon first one was. Yeah. It wasn't a Ray Charles special by any means. No way.
No.
But he sure played a lot.
He
sure played a lot.
He did play a lot. He also, when he was in sketches, he played himself. And only himself, I think.
I mean, listen, I'm
pretty sure.
I'm not going to knock that. Ron Nessen, Ralph Nader -1 sketch. Listen, the guy does it. It's not what the guy does. And I will even tell it. There were a couple of sketches I was impressed because the dude obviously is not reading cue cards. And there are some sketches, and this is not meant to be as a smartass at all. There are some sketches. He had a lot to say. And he did. I mean, dare I say, he sometimes spoke the English language better than Garrett Morris.
I would say outperformed Garrett Morris. No, it was good. It was an interesting episode, like you said.
Yeah, but I cannot knock Ray Charles for any of it. I think he did. I think he did everything he was asked, and I think he did what he absolutely. And I think he did it fairly well, I would say.
Yes, and he was able to keep a sense of humor about himself and everything throughout the show too.
Oh yeah.
So it was fun.
Yeah, totally.
Should we just get into it?
Let's do it.
The cold open starts with the Godfather talking to, so it's John Beck as Vito Corleone and Bill as Tommy, and they're talking about the Godfather saga, which was a TV series on NBC in 1977.
Well, they combined Godfather 1 and 2. But played them chronologically. Yeah. So it was re-edited.
And it was called the Godfather saga.
Yeah. It was like a 3 or 4 night thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're just talking about his disappointment with the network and how he can, retaliate against NBC at this point. This was fun. I guess it was a fun take. When it was so dark at the beginning, I was like, oh, is this a Nixon sketch? Are we getting that? And then it turned into be Vito Corleone. So I was a little relieved there.
Yeah, it was fine. And it was funny. They never mention the characters by name. They never mention him as the Godfather, but he's doing it. He only mentions Bill Murray as Tom at one point, but obviously playing the Tom Hagen character. It was. I enjoyed seeing them bringing Brando back. It was nice. John did a good job on that. It kind of like felt like, I was trying to think of what the term was. It wasn't stunt casting, but for some reason this sketch felt like stunt writing or something. Like there was just something, and I know it's what they do. You know what I mean? It's topical and they make jokes about whatever's happening now. I don't know why, for some reason, just them doing this Godfather parody of the show being on NBC felt stunty. And I don't mean that good or bad. It had this weird vibe that I've never felt any of their other parodies feel. I thought Bill was pretty good.
I thought Bill was very good.
As a Tom Hagen-esque character, like basically playing Tom Hagen, yeah.
Even the makeup and the wig that he had on were very good. I thought they did a nice job on that. And he did a nice job. It was good. Yeah.
I think, part of the stunt, my idea of like the stunt rating, whatever, it feels like this is one of the more obvious times where a sketch was blatantly written for them to say live from New York. Because he's like, do you want to take retaliation? And my God, my niece or someone loves the show, but I really love it when they say live from New York. And it was just like, it was like I know they've done it probably once or twice before, but it between talking about the NBC of it all and then the way they delivered it to that line. And not that it bothered me, it just was noticeable, I think, is the thing that stood out to me.
Yeah, it definitely was written right in there. And you knew it was coming as soon as you started into it. So it was not a surprise by any stretch.
But it was, like you said, decent start to the episode.
And then we get our intros and Ray Charles. And the first thing I see is Ray Charles at the piano. And the first thing I wrote was, oh no, Brad, the host is going to sing.
My first note was, a song.
So Ray does a couple jokes about, happy to be here in Carnegie Hall. And then he says, I know I'm not really in Carnegie Hall. So he starts with that whole, I know I'm on to them gag that we hear throughout the show.
And he was good before he started even singing. He has it, he talks about the show being tasteless and offensive, and he's like, I might be blind, but I'm not stupid. Like, like as you mentioned earlier, like right off the bat, he's in on the joke and he's having fun with it. And so you know where the show is going to go because they're not shying away, and like he's game for it, which you always love when the host is game for whatever it is they're going to do. So
yes,
he sets them up well.
And he plays it well. Like you said, like he's in on it right from the beginning and he's enjoying it right from the beginning. So it's awesome.
Well, the joke's on them because he's not the real Ray Charles.
That's right. And then he sings, I Can See Clearly Now. Beautiful.
Off the new album, the aforementioned covers album. True to Life was the name of the album. I think it comes out it came out in October, so it had been out, I guess, for a few weeks at this point. But yeah, good song.
It's a great cover.
I mean, we're continuing our trend this season of amazing bassists in the musical act. Like, yet again, I'm like, God damn, Ray, bringing it.
Look at him. I think I can make it now that the rain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is a rainbow that I've been praying for. I see a bright light, whoa, and the light, the sunshiny day. Yes, I did.
And I mean, let's be honest, funky Ray Charles is the best Ray Charles.
Oh, yeah. And we get a lot of that tonight throughout the show.
I mean, I think this is his best number, no? I enjoy this number the best, I would say. I left this monologue surprisingly optimistic, and I really enjoyed this version of this song.
I think this totally set me up for the show to enjoy it, and it put me in a good mood. To your point, I really enjoyed this number.
Yeah.
And I felt like, oh, yes, this is good. I love Ray Charles. This is going to be fun watching him. And then it comes back to him, and he starts singing Georgia on my mind. And that leads us into a President Carter 2 camera bit with Dan talking about his frustration with the Americans' lack of understanding about the energy crisis. This was fine. This wasn't anything that was, impressive necessarily.
Yeah, it makes sense with the host, and the Georgia on my mind. It's an obvious lead into it. So that makes sense. I agree. Not great. Dan was good, as he always is. But, I like that they're still taking shots at Carter. They're not just making him a joke. They've kind of been sticking to this now. The last few times we see him where they're taking shots at him. And so I do like that. I do like that they're still doing that.
Well, they're taking shots at him, but also they're like rounding out this character, right? Mm-hmm. Like he is someone who is annoyed that no one's listening to him on these topics. And that's just kind of like a stance that they're taking with him as the character of Jimmy Carter.
And Dan does a great job where he's like all pissed off, but then he has that like fake smile that he gives to the camera. So like he like I said, Dan is still doing a very good job. Very good.
Dan's doing a great job. Garrett, on the other hand.
Yeah, that's a good segue. I was wondering how you're going to pull that one off.
We come back to Ray at the piano, and he introduces Ella Fitzgerald, which is just Garrett in drag.
As soon as he said Ella Fitzgerald, I just wrote down, "Oh no," because you knew where it was going, and I was just like, "Oh no, oh no."
It's funny because I had a moment of hope. I was writing something down about Dan Aykroyd as Jimmy Carter, and he introduces Ella Fitzgerald, and I got excited for a minute. And then I look up and see Garrett, and I was like, damn it. I fell for it.
It's sad that you fall for it now because you know the history of Garrett. You should have not been. I could see maybe at the time falling for it, but yeah,
I know. I got wrapped up in the moment of hearing Ray Charles sing, and then I was like, oh, is he going to bring out more people? This would be awesome. And then I just fell for it, and then I had to deal with Garrett in drag as Ella Fitzgerald, and then it's just back and forth between the two of them where Ray, they talk about Ray being so smart that he can tell if it's Ella Fitzgerald singing in person or on a cassette recorder. And there's like a little hiccup that Garrett has trying to play the actual cassette.
Yeah, a little technical difficulty there.
But then the gag is that, Ella Fitzgerald sings so well and so high that she cracks a glass the first time. And then the second time it cracks Ray Charles' glasses.
I was wondering if that was the gag. There's a lot of work for that gag because when he does come out at one point, and I was like, did he just change sunglasses at one point? And there was a time too, like they pan over and they're on Garrett, and Garrett kind of helps them or something because he reaches off camera, and you're like, what's going on? But I did actually, I don't know, the first time when Garrett's doing the scatting and the champagne glass on the piano breaks, I thought it was kind of funny. No. I did laugh at that.
No, it was fine.
It was funny.
You have to understand, Brad, I'm coming down from this high of thinking I'm going to see Ella Fitzgerald.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I cannot put myself in your shoes. That you thought Ella Fitzgerald was going to, you're still on a high from last week of Art Garfunkel walking on set. And now you're like, who knows who's going to come? Anybody can come at any time now. Gloves are off.
Really? The high was Charles Grodin in the Art Garfunkel wig.
Can we just go back and talk about Charles Grodin again? Holy shit.
It's worth it.
I almost wanted to start this episode with like 10 more minutes of Charles Grodin. God damn, that episode is good.
It's so good. It really is.
I think I'm more just because I was so anti Charles Grodin and I was so wrong. I just like, my God.
Yeah.
Like I was,
that makes it better for all of us.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I'm trying to balance this Garrett as Ella Fitzgerald moment.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I guess he started the trend last season with the White House nanny or whatever.
Yeah,
but
right.
Yeah, we're gonna see this again and again.
Yes. Something else that we see again is Debbie Duty. This time it's an episode of the Duty Girls.
Give that
Debbie
girl
and Dottie Duty.
Give that girl her own sketch. Come on.
So this time Gilda is playing Debbie Duty, but Lorraine is playing her sister Dottie Duty. Lorraine is amazing in this. Did you watch her feet at all? I think walking on the heels of her boots.
They're both amazing. They're playing like marionettes strings and
Right.
all. So, and we'll see it at the
Yes.
end of the sketch, but there's, strings to their wrists and their elbows and their shoulders, like as if they're being operated from somebody high above. And both of them, Lorraine and Gilda, do an excellent job. Like there's a gag where they
Excellent.
try to go sit on
Yeah.
a couch and like they can't, like they like literally jump and flop and fall off and like, and their legs are like rubber. Like the two of them, they do an amazing job. Yes, I agree.
So good. I don't think like the jokes were fine. They were mediocre in my opinion, but the physical comedy from both Lorraine and Gilda, and then Bill when he comes on too, he does a nice job.
I thought
as
even
well.
surprisingly, even Bill was good at, because this isn't something you see
Yeah.
Bill doing, this kind of physical humor and that looseness. And I thought surprisingly, even he was good.
I thought this was a good episode for Bill, and we can get into that later. But yeah,
He definitely, there's something going on, and you see it a lot in a sketch or two coming up, but like he's throwing something in every little line or something he has. He's doing a little something else. Like you might call it like hamming up or, milking it or chewing the scenery, but like he's always doing a little something, and it is very noticeable. Not so much. I didn't notice it as much in this sketch. I noticed it later. But he's great. He's great. But there's not much. What is this fucking sketch about? There's nothing to
no, the whole premise of the sketch is that Debbie Duty's going to start dating again, and that's how Bill comes in.
Right. Because they
but
try
she's
to
still
make
mourning Howdy Duty's death. Yeah. Which this Howdy Doody death happened a year ago or so, and we saw it last season. And I was like, this is something we're coming back to. Like, was the death of Howdy Doody, quote unquote, this big in pop culture?
No, not at all.
It warrants a separate sketch, a second sketch?
No, not at all. But what does warrant a second sketch, granted not one this bad, is Gilda's performance, because she was so good last time. You had to revisit that. You had to revisit it.
I know.
Yes, you hang it on the Howdy Doody's dead hook a little bit.
Right.
Like, did you need that? No, but you somehow needed to tie it together, have some reason to do the Debbie Duty being there.
And that's what impressed me even more about Lorraine, because I thought Lorraine was even better than Gilda at the physical comedy of this in this particular sketch.
Ooh. I thought Gilda was better the first time. I thought she was better the first time than this time.
Yeah.
But is Lorraine better than Gilda? She might be. She's very good. She's very
They're both
good.
very good.
But there's nothing there other than it's like it's all physical gags. I think they tried to hang it on the what time is it? Because they played that joke like 3 or 4 times. Like, what time is it?
Yeah.
And it reminds everybody of Howdy Doody, and it's like wah wah. And they go 0 for 3 or 4. Like never once does that joke really hit. Sad.
I know. And they keep going back to it.
But so I don't know. It wasn't great. It was pretty lowball stuff, but I think it worked because of the physicalness and because of the performance of Gilda and Lorraine.
Yeah.
There's I use the phrase a lot. There's not a lot of meat on the bone on this one, but it didn't need it because you were watching them perform.
Exactly.
The physicality of it. And that's what really sells it. And then what I did like is at the end, we mentioned, they're being as if they're operated by marionettes. They pull back wide and they show the prop guys or whoever on top, like holding the sticks with the string and moving. And what I really loved is the guy in the middle with the cigar in his mouth. It was fucking priceless. Yeah. Some 60-year-old guy, cigar chomping. He's like wagging up and down.
Yeah.
1977, baby. Smoking while you're working in the studio.
Well, we get Ray in his first sketch, not at the piano, which is great.
Speaking of smoking while you're working.
Yeah. So we get the Tomorrow Show with guest Ray Charles. And again, this is Dan as Tom Snyder, always one of my favorites.
On a brand new set this season.
Yeah, we got the money. Let's make the set better. It's just an interview with Tom Snyder and Ray Charles, and he asks him things like, why sing the blues? And what are the blues? And
what is the blues?
Yeah. In a beautiful moment, he says, let's not, just right to the point. You are a sightless person.
Now, there's something here which we haven't discussed, and quite frankly, sir, I think we should touch on it. The fact is, sir, you're blind, or let's say you're a sightless person. You know, I remember a movie with Patty Duke and Anne Bancroft. It was called The Miracle Worker. It was the story of a blind, deaf, and mute girl. I can't recall her name right now, but it'll come to me. Anyway, they taught her to read and communicate in that movie. It was a touching story, and for my money, it was one of the best movies I ever saw. Normally, I never cry at the movies, but this one had me crying. It was great. What did you think of that movie, sir?
I didn't see it.
All right, sir, fair enough. I'll buy that.
But I'll tell you something, Tom. My blindness has made me much more aware. My sense of taste and touch and smell are highly developed, more than most people who can see.
Well, could you demonstrate?
All right. Well, from where I'm sitting now, I can tell that within the past hour, you put on some 007 after-shaving lotion, vintage 1968, and you're still wearing the same socks for 2 days in a row.
Ray, I wish we could continue. Unfortunately, we're running right out of time now.
Yes, your tie feels like silk, too, but it's really polyester. And you still tuck your T-shirt inside your boxer shorts.
That's simply uncanny, sir. You know, you're absolutely right.
I mean,
And Ray Charles was great in this.
this is the sketch I was referring. Like, Ray says a lot, and he never stumbles. Like, he's there with Dan back and forth. He did a fantastic job. There was a bit you mentioned where he's in the interview, and one of the questions is, "What is the blues?" And this whole kind of segment was decent, especially when Dan starts talking about, "Well, if I was a black sharecropper,"
Yeah.
which I thought was pretty amusing. It was pretty good. And I thought you must have loved the bit about groupies, where he starts asking about groupies, and the two of them go back and forth about their groupies. And Aykroyd it's just classic Tom Snyder with the guffawing and the laughing and the body motions, and I was like, oh, Gary's in heaven.
So good. Yeah, I really loved this.
I think Ray Charles had the joke of the night. It didn't get the response it should have, but they're talking about the Miracle Worker and the movie, and Tom Snyder starts asking about the movie and about the woman and what he saw, and Ray looks at him deadpan and just like, I didn't see it, and like that joke is so funny. And like, I don't know if people just didn't hear it or were afraid to laugh at it, but that joke should have gotten a way bigger response. I think it was the funniest line of the night.
Yeah, it was very funny. And the way he delivered it was very funny.
He
was excellent in this sketch.
He's very good.
This sketch alone, I was like, oh, now I see why he's hosting this show, because he's that good in this sketch.
This is what this sketch is for, is when you get a host who can't really do much other than play themselves, put them up against Tom Snyder and have him interview them as a version of themselves. They did it with Paul Simon, and it works really well in this context.
Yeah. And then he goes right into another sketch. The Chiron comes on to tell us that we're in a Memphis rehearsal hall in 1957, and Ray is again playing himself, and this time Garrett is playing, I don't know if it's his manager or what. This is where I wrote, why is Garrett having such a hard time with the cue cards?
Yeah.
Because he could not get one sentence out without stumbling.
I mean, it's kind of Garrett's thing.
I know. So the whole premise here is that, Ray wants to sing his own song, and Garrett's convincing him, look, you'll sing the song for the black radio stations in the South, but we got to make money. And in order to do that, we're going to have other people record the song for the popular radio stations in the North. And then the entire cast comes in wonderful coordinated outfits with plaid, and the guys are in vests and the girls are in skirts. And they introduce themselves as the Young Caucasians.
It takes them a while. They introduce themselves one by one. They're like, we're going to play them. And they're, oh, and by the way, we call ourselves the Young Caucasians. And like, there's your joke.
They then tell Ray that they're going to sing his song, What Did I Say?
What did I say? Yes.
What did I say? and then they do. They sing the song, and they make it the absolute whitest version of this song as they could.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Charles, let's go. Here's the Young Caucasians version of What Did I Say?
this is the scene where I was like, oh, this is Bill's adding something here.
This is the scene I noticed it in. Every time he had a line or did something or pulled Jane into
Even
dance
just
with him,
singing.
my theory, he knew this was a shitty sketch because it's not very good. I don't think it's that great. And I think he took it upon himself to use this subpar sketch. Let me just do a little something here, a little something there.
Well, it's interesting. I was watching this sketch and I thought back to season 1, the Christmas episode where the entire cast is singing, and just how Chevy felt kind of out of place and awkward in these singing sketches with everyone. And Bill didn't. Like, Bill fit right in. Became part of the cast here.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's like, oh, now he's part of this and it fits so much better as a group.
I enjoyed seeing the cast. Like, I can't remember the last time we saw the whole cast in a sketch, and I liked seeing them all in one big ensemble. It's always fun. Probably, I don't know, Kill Gary Gilmore would be the last time. Like, in this kind of atmosphere where they're all together, not like coming and going. And that was fun. And it wasn't a bad sketch. It was just, it wasn't that deep. You cut through the surface. Hey, we're the young Caucasians. We're like, what was the name of their album? A lighter shade of white, or a whiter shade of pale. Oh, something
like that.
I
didn't write that down.
And then they're like, oh, it's like the young Caucasians tribute to Negroes. It's like they just keep digging that hole more and more and more.
Yeah. But I enjoyed their performance too. Like, they hammed it up so much as a group, and I thought they did a great job.
It was a very good, bad performance.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
Really was.
They all sang it well. They danced it well. It was, they did do that well. There just wasn't a lot there to it, unfortunately.
I think it was good for what it was. Yeah. It worked for what they were going for, because it's not a whole lot there.
Did you like it better than when the Ray Charles version he played after?
No, I did not. I enjoyed Ray Charles's version better.
I didn't
love
it.
So then, they all... Well,
it was better.
You didn't love his version?
I didn't like Ray's version.
No?
I don't know. It felt, dare I say, a little too fast, a little too cokey, if you will.
Oh, I didn't think of that. I'd have to watch it again. I enjoyed it. I just, I thought it felt like there were a lot of background singers.
There were a lot of Raylets.
I thought there were I thought there were just the three of them, and then they pulled the camera back, and I was like, wait, are there 7 women singing here?
No, there were not 7.
No, it wasn't 7, but I'm
pretty sure it was 5, though.
I think it was 5.
It was 5. You know the problem is, it's just always tricky when you mess with perfection. Like, that song is just, it's just like, it's just, anytime you try to do, I get it, you try to do something different, it's just so hard.
It is. And also for him, like, Ray Charles is not used to playing this song after listening to 6 white people butcher it. So, I mean, maybe he was just like, I'm going to show them how it's done. And he upped the tempo.
The more I think about it, God damn, they did a good job butchering that song.
Right?
They did a very good job of, like, white 50izing, like, white mainstream. Yes. They did do a good job of that.
Just when Dan's going, hey, they're all like, hey.
Don't they do? Do they say Olay at one point? Like, baby, what I say?
They
Olay.
do say Olay. Yes.
My God.
Yes, they do.
It is pretty.
See?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. It was done very smartly. It is a very smart way to do that.
Yes, I thought so. And that then rolls us into Weekend Update with the Chevy Chase joke, which seemed awkward. It was awkward.
It was.
Didn't seem awkward.
It was awkward. First of all, it's season 3. Why are you still playing the Chevy Chase card? Like, let it go, guys. That's the first thing. I was just like, what? Sorry, old script. And then Jane and then the fact that Jane just blew it off. She's like, no problem. But then she, like, stumbled getting in the first jokes. Like, none of it really worked, I didn't think. But even more so, I'm just like, why are you still hitting up on Chevy?
Totally. He's been gone for almost a year now, like almost 1 calendar year. So, but then once we get into it, we get some decent jokes, I thought.
Oh, well, the audience did not think so.
No, I decided not to pay attention to the audience. They had a pretty good Lillian Carter joke, I thought. with her son growing into the job. They had what I think may be our first O.J. Simpson joke on Saturday Night Live.
Which did not listen. Unless you're Norm Macdonald, you're not landing an O.J. Simpson joke. I'm sorry. If there's one thing 50 years of this show has told us, there's one person who's landing O.J. jokes, and sadly, it's not either one of these two.
No. There's a rabies joke where they come back and Dan's foaming at the mouth. It was fun. It was something different.
It was bizarre and different. I like the effort on that. I got, like Jane's reading the report about rabies, and if your spouse gets bitten by rabies, they'll start foaming. Then they pull back and you see Dan, he's got the foam, and he starts barking and foaming at cameras. It was very weird, but I appreciated the effort. It was fun to see.
Yeah. They had a Bob and Ray joke, which I thought was funny.
I thought it was another miss.
Dad.
Another miss. Before that, they had a Kent State joke that was a big swing and a miss.
That was a big miss. And then they had a Legionnaire's disease joke that didn't miss.
I mean, at one point, Dan tells a joke that misses, and he literally actually explained it to the audience. He's like, "It's stone." And Joan looks at him. "I got it, Dan." Like, Joan had to at least tell us she got the joke. That's how bad this Weekend Update was. Oh, man.
So it's so bad we're calling her Joan now.
Joan face.
And then Bill comes on to review Close Encounters. He's got this down now. He's got this persona down, this character. He's got his little catchphrases that he says, and he reviews Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I thought this was funny. You didn't like this?
I didn't.
You didn't like any Weekend Update, did you?
I didn't.
This is funny.
No, I didn't love this either. I didn't think he liked it that much. I just felt like he wasn't into it, and it felt like just something wasn't there. I genuinely did not like Bill's piece. No.
Oh, interesting.
It felt weak to me. Like he was just like, I don't know, going through the motions or something. But that as much as we've said, Bill Murray's been throwing extra stuff in this whole episode. This segment, I felt he was like just not into it, not there. I didn't like it. Mm-mm.
I really liked it. I thought it was fun. And maybe part of it was like the callbacks. You know, he talks about Steven Spielberg and he has to tell people this is the guy that directed Jaws. And it's kind of like, you know, maybe it was some of that. And then talking about Columbia Pictures stock prices based on these reviews and everything. No, I thought it was good. I enjoyed it.
And
I enjoyed Bill.
Even him giving away the ending. It felt like he underplayed it. Like giving away the ending of the movie, like he either underplayed it or didn't. I don't know. This one just didn't hit. It did not hit.
All right.
Nor did the return of the dancing end. I feel like they wanted more out of that. Gilda comes back as the dancing end to finish Weekend Update. She's dancing around and says, "All I want to do is, will you dance with me?" And Jane and Dan get up with top hats and canes and start to dance or try to dance.
Yeah. But then Gilda was trapped back by the wall and wouldn't move away from the wall. That part was weird to me.
Well, you know she can't see. I mean, there's no holes in that.
No,
thing.
I understand that.
So I have a feeling.
I know.
I'm just guessing she got stuck in the back and was like, "Somebody help me." She didn't know where to go.
That was what was funny. Like Dan tried to pull her up at one point and then she just drifted back again. Anyway,
it was I definitely feel like that ending. They were expecting more and it did not come. It was not what they wanted.
Yeah. No, that fell flat. I don't know. I enjoyed this Weekend Update myself.
Okay.
Overall, I thought it was one of the stronger Weekend Updates that we've seen so far with Dan and Jane.
Ooh.
This season, I think this is the strongest Weekend Update we've seen this season.
I mean, I will say Dan felt at least a bit more natural behind the desk. I'll give him that. But I thought there were so many missed jokes.
But it's still the best one we've seen this season.
All right.
And then we come back to Ray again. And this time Ray introduces his old band. So he introduces the guys that he played with a long time ago, apparently. He introduces each one of them one by one. And then they roll into a medley. I Got a Woman. I Believe to My Soul. I can't read my handwriting.
Them That Got.
Yep, that's it.
Them That Got
hit the road jack.
And then The Story is what they ended with. So I didn't love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't love it.
It was an interesting filler. I didn't love it either. I wanted them to do a whole song, and when they turned it into a medley, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I didn't know a couple of the tunes, so that may have, led to me not enjoying it that much. Like I didn't know the middle chunk a little bit.
Right.
It did feel long. It felt like really long. Like I mentioned that, like I love that first song. I feel like I'm enjoying his performances less and less as the night goes on.
Okay.
Like I thought he came out of the gates on fire, and I've steadily been been going down in my enjoyment. But I will say, for the story, the last song they played, him getting up and playing the saxophone was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was really, I didn't know he was a sax player, to be honest. So to see him actually up there and playing the saxophone was really cool.
He then introduces Franklyn Ajaye, who is a stand-up comic, and he comes out and does a set all about Star Trek, actually, is what the set is about. This was a piece that did not seem to land with the audience at all. And it didn't really land with me either. And not because I don't know a lot about Star Trek.
No. He opens up with the line, "I know a lot of you don't know who I am. That's fine. That's good." And it doesn't really get better from there. I have to ask you, was the whole thing about Star Trek? Because I completely tuned out about halfway through.
It was, I think. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure the whole thing was about Star Trek.
I do like the special guest. I like that they're still doing it. We've seen it 3 times now in 5 episodes, so that's cool. They're still doing it. And, I feel like it's part of, you got to give the show credit. Where is this guy going to get on TV in 1977 at this time? So,
right.
It's like the lockers, earlier in the show. Like they're still giving people a chance to speak their voice that you wouldn't often hear. This one didn't necessarily hit for me, but I like that they did it. I like that he was on. And he's obviously, he's talented. The guy's still around. He was nominated for a couple Emmys as a writer for In Living Color and Politically Incorrect. So it's like the guy knows what he's doing. He's been in the business for 40 some years. Yeah. Even by the end, when I did tune back in, even he seemed to be checked out. Like he just knew the audience never came around and was just filling his time. It was like, are we off? Like he could.
Yeah, he says, "Are we off?" and then puts the microphone down and walks off stage.
Steps off. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when we come back, we go to a commercial for the Evelyn Woodski class for slow reading. So this is another bit on Evelyn Wood and speed reading. If you remember, we had one. I think it was season 1, maybe.
Season 1. Yep, season 1. That Buck's episode.
Yeah.
The speed reading, and now it is slow reading.
Evelyn Wood is the real person who created speed reading. This is Evelyn Woodski course for slow reading. So they made a Polish joke, I guess. I don't know.
Did they?
And then it just cuts to...
What was the Polish joke?
They changed it from Evelyn Wood to Woodski.
Oh.
Yeah.
I missed that part.
I didn't say it was a good joke.
Gotcha.
The biggest laugh in this was when Ray said...
And there's Evelyn Woodski's slow reading course for Braille. I used to get blisters on my fingers.
That was the biggest laugh in this. That was the only one that really made me laugh.
It's funny. We mentioned we saw this in season 1. This felt like a season 1 sketch where it's all a build up to one joke. I bought into it. This is one of those short sketches where all it is about one line at the end.
And you liked it? It worked for you?
I liked Ray. I thought Ray Charles was good.
Okay.
And since that's what the sketch was, to get you to the Ray Charles joke, it was fine.
Well, then we have Ray again talking about how much he enjoys New York. And then it's just him on the phone with someone. There's a knock at the hotel door for room service. So he gets up and it's Bill and Garrett who are there to rob him. Give the man credit. The blind man gets up and walks to the door and opens it. Yeah, and they go and they want to rob him. Garrett recognizes who he is, and he says, "Oh, we can't do this. You can't do this." And they put him on the couch, and then that power goes out because the whole thing starts in that opening monologue intro of the night Con Edison saved his life. Right.
And then the power goes out. It's pitch black, and I did think it was pretty funny where one of them says, "I can't see anything." You can't, and then all of a sudden you just hear. It's like something out of the old Batman TV show. Pow, boom, zit, and like all the and so I laughed out loud with that when the I can't see anything, you can't, and then you hear the fight.
Right.
I thought it was hilarious, and it was probably Besides Garrett's line of "I didn't see it," this was the second biggest laugh I had of the night, which again came from Ray.
He was good in this, and it turns out that he has Garrett tied up, and Bill is under a sheet with a blood stain, and he calls down for room service and the police. Ray was good in this.
He was. This was another one. It felt like it's only been 3 years, but like old school SNL sketch. Like this was all a joke to have the power go out.
Right.
And they say they can't see, and Ray overtakes them in the darkness when no one can see. Like it, yeah, like that mentality. Yeah. I bought into, and I thought it was decent.
Yeah. As the camera pulls back, you see someone standing on stage, and I was like, "Is that Buck Henry?" And sure enough, it was Buck Henry, who's here to tell us that he's hosting next week's show with Leon Redbone and the 5 finalists in Anyone Can Host contest. That was fun to see him again.
It's always fun when they do that. You know, I always like when they have the next week's host pop in. It's always a good thing.
We come back to Ray singing "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning." This is another number. I don't think you liked this one, right? I can't imagine that you liked this one.
I actually thought it was a fun version. I didn't.
This one you like? Okay, good.
Yeah, I mean, because you know the song. This is another one cover off that new album. And I mean, I get it. You want to promote the new album. You don't just want to come out and do the greatest hits. He wants to, he's got something else coming out. So I'll give him credit for that. What I think would have been fun, and of course, hindsight 2020. Also on that album, he covers "Let It Be."
Yeah.
Why not do "Let It Be" and then like make that, like you could have that SNL meta Beatles reference. Like, oh, we've been trying to get the Beatles. We can't get them. Like maybe he's talking to John backstage or something. Like Lauren's really upset. He's been trying to get the Beatles. They can't get them on. And then have Ray Charles do his version of "Let It Be." Like it almost feels like a missed opportunity. If you're going to play something off that new album, whatever, like play that Beatles tune. It could be, you could have had fun with it, with the cast and with Lauren and with the meta-ness of the show. It would have been fun. That's what I thought about most when I heard this song. I was like, you had a chance to do something really fun, and they didn't do it.
Yeah, no, that would have been a good one.
But the song itself, I thought it was fun. I did think it was a fun version of it.
It was fun. I thought, again, like this is another one where the band is just really tight and everyone's kind of hitting and it sounds really good. And he's having fun singing this one. And then the cast comes on stage and they all start singing "I Can't Stop Loving You." And this is where John does his Ray Charles impression too.
There it is. And I was wondering, this was another, up until this point, missed opportunity. We saw him do it. They could have done some kind of a funny something or other, like almost like that Ella Fitzgerald thing where it's like, is it Ray? Is it John? Like, he can do a pretty good Ray Charles. Like, where was it? And I was waiting the whole episode. And at this point, when they came out for what looked like the good nights, I was like, man, they dropped the ball. They missed it. And then they do a little bit where he starts to sing and he does his little Ray Charles and even gives him a line like, well, I look like Ray Charles.
Yeah.
But they should have done a whole sketch on this. I thought would have been great too.
It was like a nice way to wrap up the show too, with Ray and the entire cast again, which was fun.
Had that Lily Tomlin vibe, like when she closed her episode with the whole cast singing and scatting. It was that same kind of thing. But this was fun. It was very fun.
And then why don't I let you set up the next bit when Mr. Mike comes out?
Well, the cast just had finished and they were singing with Ray and they get interrupted and they look over and it's Mr. Mike. It's, "Oh, hi, Mr. Mike." And he tells Ray that on the show they did kind of a match collection or whatever. And they've got this poster they're giving to the Lighthouse of the Blind, or I think it's called, or something like that, where hopefully someday everyone can see it. And it's this Monet painting and it's covered in a curtain. And he's like, "Well, let me show you." And he goes and pulls the curtain and underneath it says, "Please don't tell him." No painting, just, big block letters, "Please don't tell him." And Mr. Mike goes on to explain the portrait and how beautiful it is and the light and everything about it. And he keeps going on. And it's kind of weird. Like I said, there's muffled laughter. Like the audience doesn't know if they should be laughing.
Right.
Bill looks kind of a little subdued. But I mean, it's not like they don't know what's going on, but there was kind of a weird vibe.
Well, I would like to say that out of all the awards that I've received, I got to tell you, this one, without doubt, makes me the happiest. So let me thank you, Mr. Mike, and I also would like to thank all the wonderful people on Saturday Night Live who've made this week so much fun. Thank you.
Hey, well said.
sorry. I got to run. I'll see you later at the party, pal.
Okay, see you, Mr. Mike.
Bye, Mr. Mike. Bye-bye.
Now, what Mr. Mike doesn't know is at the party are going to be 10 or 12 of the biggest black dudes he's ever seen in his life. And they're going to whoop him upside his head and break every bone in his body. So please don't tell him. We'll be right back right after this next film.
And so they turn it that like raisin on the joke, and it's funny, and he knew about it the whole time. And I love it. I think this is funny. I think it takes so much of the sting out of Mr. Mike, but I do love that you have the host in it. So I mean, it's a very conscious choice to do that. But I thought it was funny. It gave them and gave the show an out to do this joke, and I think give them the out for the episode, as you said, of like making the jokes the whole episode. It's like he was in on it the whole time.
The entire cast loved his delivery of this line. Like as soon as he finished his delivery, everyone of the cast members that were on stage were laughing and clapping with him. Like it was great because it was so well done.
He was good. He was very good.
What I thought was interesting was this whole bit, this setup with the curtain that the painting is under. Well, first of all, the fact that there's a curtain there, but then this poster that just says, "Please don't tell him," is in this very ornate frame as a Monet painting would be.
Like they go to the trouble to get a really nice frame. Like,
yes,
I didn't think about that.
And he doesn't even go near it, right?
No,
but whatever.
No,
and that's it.
Yeah.
And then we come back and Ray says, well, we have an entire minute left in this show. And the entire cast is around the piano. And now the other, like all of the backup singers and some of the band are standing around there. And he's like, so let's just play. And then he just starts jamming on the piano and everyone's around clapping, having fun. And this reminded me of the end of the Desi Arnaz show where everyone just like takes part and has fun. And then it's like a big celebration. So I thought it was cool. It was a good fun way to end the show.
Yeah, it was a great ending. Little tag on the end. They start rolling the credits and Don Pardo comes in. He says that, did you hear that line? He goes, I hope they don't have an anyone can announce contest.
Yes, I did.
Like Don Pardo always gets those little like one-liners in that are pretty funny.
Yeah, he's good. And that was our episode. Like it was a different episode. It was again kind of dominated by the musical guest with a lot of musical numbers. I still thought it was fun. I think it's because I like Ray Charles more than I like Paul Simon. But I also felt like this is at a different point in the show's trajectory where they could still go to some sketches and use characters like Tom Snyder in the Tomorrow Show to work with the host. To your point, right? Like you use that as a facilitator. So yeah, I thought it was okay for what it was.
Yeah, I give you okay. Not great. Not much there. But there's not a lot of comedy, but again, you have a musical guest in. You're not expecting, 90 minutes of laugh out loud comedy. I thought Ray Charles was decent when they used him, obviously limited in what they can do. I mean, not only as a musician, but, as being blind, there's only so much he can do and move around and do stuff. Right. So I thought, when they used him and called on him, he delivered. They probably could have rolled the dice and called on him a little bit more, but yeah, I mean, it's not horrible. I feel like there's actually surprisingly more sketches than at the end of the episode, I was like, oh, there's not that many sketches, but then there actually were like 6 or 7 sketches and, they were decent. And that last episode was just so fantastic.
Yeah.
There's no way you come back after that episode. This is almost the perfect episode to follow Charles Grodin with, because you're not going to match it.
Yes, exactly. Because you have Buck coming next week. So it's like, okay, there's a little bit more that we can do and play with here. So yeah, no, that's a good point. You can't match Charles Grodin. Well, Brad, what are your best bits?
It's another episode. I only have one, and I go with that ending, the Monet painting. I think it's great.
Okay,
I think it's a great sketch. I love that bit. I love how Ray Charles turns on him.
Yeah. I'm going to, even though it's a little bit long, I'm going to go with the young Caucasians. I just like seeing everyone there and singing. And yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun.
I did enjoy it more after talking to you. I will say I appreciated it more after talking to you about it. Yeah.
And I think the performance of the 6 cast members was wonderful. They really, turned it up on that one. So, well, next week, we're talking about season 3, episode 6 with host Buck Henry and musical guest Leon Redbone.
It's like an all-star game.
Some of our favorites.
It's like an SNL all-star game. All right.
Until then, good night and have a pleasant tomorrow.
Good night and have a pleasant tomorrow.
The Not Ready for Primetime podcast is a 2 Pints Productions production. Produced and edited by Brad and Gary. Thought about by Brad and Gary. Please rate and review. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.